Here's more wrestling news for July 7th, 2021. And your headlines for this afternoon include, I could walk away, Roman Reigns on quitting WWE right now. Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green getting married on New Year's Eve. Tony Khan says AEW was refunded $100,000 for Dud Explosion at Revolution. Karrion Kross set to defend WWE NXT title next week. Jaxson Ryker called Lil Hogan after WWE Raw. Why AJ Styles was worried with Vince McMahon. Design revealed for scrapped WWE Cruiserweight Tag Team titles. You have my permission to fire him. Vince McMahon's Ruthless instruction after WWE legend refused to cut a promo, and more. Over the past year, few stars have dominated quite like Roman Reigns, whose position as the top name in WWE has been cemented since becoming the Tribal Chief. Since his main roster debut at Survivor Series 2012, Reigns has had a Hall of Fame-worthy career, or at least that's what he believes. Speaking on the Cheap Heat with Peter Rosenberg podcast, Reigns discussed his run as head of the table during the Thunderdome era and had high praise for his performance. He said, "With what I've showcased in the Thunderdome alone, I could walk away. On top of everything I've done, and taking this last year of performances, everything I've set out to do, I've done it, or I'm in the middle of getting to that point of achievement." The idea of Reigns leaving for good is something many fans would love to see, but it's hard to argue with the fact that the Tribal Chief has been a highlight of the last 12 months. With a match against Edge confirmed for Money in the Bank, Reigns is expected to retain and face John Cena at SummerSlam, but these two high-profile matches are ones the champ believes his already impressive career doesn't need. On April 15th, 2021, exactly a year after her fiancé was released, Chelsea Green was cut from WWE, and now there's been speculation on where she'll go next. Green's next company is still uncertain at this point, but we do know one big plan she has in the works. On her Green with Envy podcast, the former superstar confirmed that she and Matt Cardona will be tying the knot on New Year's Eve after originally planning on getting married last year. The former Zack Ryder proposed 2.5 years ago, and Green explained that they've been waiting for Canada to open up so that her family can come for the wedding and not have to quarantine upon returning to the Great White North. In April, Green teased marrying Cardona during an episode of Impact Wrestling, and though that may depend on whether Green is with Impact by December, we now have a date for the wrestling wedding of the year. AEW news next, as the company has gotten a lot right in its 2 years, but the exploding barbed wire death match at AEW Revolution wasn't one of them. In the final moments of the show, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston were in the middle of the ring as explosions were meant to go off, but what fans got instead was an underwhelming pyrotechnics show that fans couldn't help but boo. Appearing on the Dan Le Batard show with Stugos this week, Tony Khan discussed the explosion, or lack thereof, from Revolution, and had some harsh words for the professional pyrotechnicians who rigged the explosion. "It was professional pyrotechnic guys. They totally the bed, these guys. I ended up not paying them. It was like $100,000 they ended up refunding for all the expenses of the match. So I didn't end up paying for the exploding barbed wire death match, which I should have. They screwed up royally." Khan added that despite the explosive failure, he does plan for more death matches, as the match drew, and praised Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega for their performance. He added, "Long story short, that was a long time ago and we've bounced back since then. That was 3 months ago and everything has been pretty perfect and couldn't have gone much better." AEW may have bounced back, but the barbed wire death match remains one of the company's biggest duds, and we can only hope that the company has a better explosion for their next death match. Back to WWE, and next week, NXT champion Karrion Kross will put his title on the line against Johnny Gargano. After a face-to-face between the two during this week's Great American Bash, William Regal made the title match official. And with Samoa Joe as the guest referee, we're expecting an incredible match from all three talented performers. Over to Raw now, as Jaxson Ryker continues to be pushed as a babyface despite the views of the fans. Last year, Ryker caused a stir when he called the Black Lives Matter movement garbage, adding that black people can't complain, and encouraged people of color to watch 12 Years a Slave. This week, Ryker teamed with R-Truth to face Elias and Cedric Alexander, and after pinning the former Hurt Business member, Cedric's wife Big Swole threw some massive shade at Ryker, calling him Lil Hogan. This is obviously a reference to Hulk Hogan's racist comments that came to light in 2015 and led to Hogan being fired from WWE before returning in 2018. Though Ryker's comments ended the push of the Forgotten Sons, he's the only member still in WWE, and despite the views of countless fans and wrestlers alike, the company isn't giving up on Ryker's babyface push. In 2016, AJ Styles joined WWE with a whirlwind of momentum, ending his first year with the company as WWE Champion. Before WWE, Styles made a name in promotions like TNA and New Japan, and was thankfully able to keep his name and character when he joined WWE. Speaking to Ryan Satin recently, Styles admitted that WWE management told him they may have to change his name despite his massive AJ tattoo, but the phenomenal one was more worried about a change of gimmick. "I was worried about this southern accent that I can't shake, and that Vince was going to make me wear overalls and come out to a little country song or something with a banjo." Thankfully, Styles' legacy as one of the greatest wrestlers ever continued with him to WWE, and we're pleased that he's done so well, becoming a Grand Slam champion this year without a banjo or straw hat in sight. Now, last month, WWE released a ton of talent from NXT and 205 Live, with just 4 exclusive superstars left on the Purple brand. Clearly, WWE doesn't have much, if any, plans for 205 Live, but that wasn't always the case according to Jack Gallagher. On Instagram, the former superstar discussed the Purple brand and revealed that there were once plans for Cruiserweight Tag Team Championships, and revealed the design they would have had. Gallagher explained that the belts were created before 205 Live, and that some roster members even posed with the titles. The superstars pitched ideas for what a Cruiserweight tag division would have been, with one idea being that the matches would be under Mexican tag rules, meaning that if your feet touched the floor outside the ring, that constituted as a legal tag and your partner could enter. Another idea pitched for the titles was to become trios titles with 3-man teams, but these were obviously rejected. Ultimately, any plans for a Cruiserweight tag division never came to fruition, and with 205 Live's roster down to 4, these titles will remain one of WWE's many plans the company gave up on. And we're ending today with Lex Luger, who was once poised to be the WWF's next Hulk Hogan, but that never happened. Instead, Luger left for WCW in September 1995, 2 years after his failed main event run in the WWF, and the total package was reportedly difficult to work with. Speaking to Pro Wrestling Defiant's Jonathan O'Dwyer this week, Hugo Savinovich, who was a WWE commentator for 17 years, discussed Luger, and how Lex once refused to do a backstage interview to promote a match with Tatanka, a decision that infuriated Vince McMahon. "Vince took everybody out of the dressing room. He went in, 2 minutes, came back out, and he calls me back into his office and he says, he'll be ready to do the promo. And he said, next time that somebody refuses to do a promo after I've approved it, you have my permission to fire him or fire her because I will not tolerate this kind of behavior." Went back in, he did the promo, and we did the storyline of Tatanka against Lex Luger. It would be just over a year after the Tatanka program in 1994 that Lex jumped to WCW, appearing on the debut episode of Nitro, but his departure from WWE nearly came much sooner, all over his refusal to cut a promo. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.